A life in the mafia awaits, from the silver screen to your fingertips, filled with fast money, brutal crime, heartbreaking betrayal, and a tale old as time, revenge. All taking place alongside the world of the award-winning blockbuster, The Godfather. But it's not 2006 anymore. So how does this third-person open-world action-adventure video game of the same title hold up 20 years after its release? A game that sold well enough to knock The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion off the UK chart's #1 spot. A game that seems now to be mostly forgotten, relegated to abandonware. But most importantly for me, I wanted to know if The Godfather the video game is still fun. Hello there, my name is Red and I've taken over every business, controlled every racket, destroyed every compound, completed every contract hit, bought every property, and slung countless rounds of lead to become the Don of New York City. I've played all the way through The Godfather, spending over 45 hours in the game to fully experience it for a complete review. But enough of the intro, this is a long one, so let's dive in, shall we? We open up with a cutscene. I don't know if anything is supposed to be shown here, I think it's just meant to be dark to accentuate the voice lines of Don Corleone. We then cut to the streets of Little Italy in New York City, 1936. In all its 2006 rendered glory, sharp polygons and fake shadows. The aesthetic has aged, of course, but the faces, despite their low poly count and limited texture size, still look okay. You can tell that's Marlon Brando's Don Corleone, and I will say, the animation is good. Notably high quality, readable body language and discernible facial expressions. We'll see if that continues throughout the game. With an explosion in a bakery, the street is shaken and bypasses stumble. This man, Johnny, is grabbed and tossed aside for a beatdown. We get our first hands on gameplay very quickly, starting with the melee mechanics. WASD to move, mouse to look, standard third person and not too bad, but a little clunky all these years later. Lock on with the right mouse click and press Q and E to swing at super speed. Alternatively, a new, at the time, system was created that additionally allows you to swing with your mouse, moving your mouse back, then flinging it forward to punch. It still feels okay, but it does get tiring quickly, so I'll stick to mashing Q and E like a maniac. My opinion of these controls is a gradual decline over the many hours of gameplay. You fight valiantly, beating 3 overly green-suited thugs, but alas, you're ambushed and gunned down. A classic and cinematic mafia execution. The added detail the last few shots fired while you're already down is a nice touch to the brutality of it. A young boy rushes to the scene, but the Don steps in, shielding his eyes from the body of his father, letting the boy know,
"Save your anger. Save it. You are old enough, and the time is right. You will take your revenge."
We then jump into character creation, which yes, this game has. There's a decent amount of sliders here too, though it's somewhat restricted. My test is always to see how much of a monster the game lets you create. Not too bad, I'd say. There is also a pretty good clothing system with quite a few options, especially for the colours and patterns. We only have some basic clothing for the moment. Even still, it's an impressive amount of choice for 2006 in my opinion. Here and throughout the game, the original movie's music plays. I can't, for obvious copyright reasons, play it, but it really helps cement the movie and the game together with the unique Italian-inspired cinematic scores. The music accentuates every cutscene and in the gameplay. At the end of the character creation, you do get to choose your name, but it doesn't really affect anything other than your save file name. We then jump ahead 9 years to the day of a certain daughter's wedding, and the wife of Johnny from the previous cutscene pleads with Don Corleone.
"It's only that I'm so worried about my son. He's fallen in with some bad men. Fools. He's in trouble and... please, he needs your help. Godfather."
We do see a bit more glitching in the animation here with the facial close-ups, but despite that, you still get the emotion and physical storytelling from these low-poly models. You'll quickly notice if you're familiar with the movie, many scenes from it play out here and there in the game. The story is meant to take place in tandem with the movie, a B-plot as it were, that we never saw in the film, though plenty of things have been changed to accommodate your intervention and gameplay. Luca is sent out to find the now young man. The man executed earlier was, of course, our father, and we are the boy, and that was our mother pleading with the Don. That's why the character creator was a little restrictive. We needed to be that young boy all grown up. We've gotten in with the wrong crowd and Luca is sent to set us on the straight and narrow. Well, as straight and narrow as you can be while still being in the Mafia. We now get a proper tutorial on combat as well as how to grab people and get them to their feet when needed. You can also drag people around and use in-world items to hit them against it. Here, you can smash the punk's head into a crate, getting the sweet bag of cash that's actually hidden inside. You can also hold shift, then hold Q and E to charge for a heavy attack. Once we've defeated the punks, we get our navigational and quest tools by talking to Luca. Spacebar is interact. We now have a minimap and a proper map, though sadly you need to access it through the escape menu. There's no hotkey available and that gets really annoying later on. The map's not too bad and quite busy looking at first glance. You do get a hotkey for the notepad, which is N. It's basically your quest log. Now you can run around and soak up the atmosphere of Little Italy. There's plenty of cars and people walking the streets and trains can be heard clacking overhead. It feels busy and full, but you'll promptly see cars and people spawning in as the game can't quite keep up with you looking around, ruining the magic a little bit here. I do love the added ambience effect of the paper spinning in the air. It's a lovely extra touch, creating motion as you move about, giving an extra sense of life to the world while adding to the feel of the dirty street on the wrong side of town. Sprinting is also available. Hold shift and after a moment you begin to sprint. It's not instant and feels like a deliberate mechanical choice, ensuring you're committed to running away. You can hijack driven cars or take parked cars. Rather confusingly, the first time I take this parked car, I gain heat. But later in game, that never happens. You only ever get heat from hijacking cars, never taking parked cars. It's very inconsistent and sends the wrong message to a player early on. Heat is essentially wanted star levels for the GTA fans out there. You'll notice the game feels very heavily inspired by GTA. GTA San Andreas came out just 2 years prior to this game, when the game was in early development. More on the driving mechanics later. For now, we get rudely driven into by 2 warring mobs, a showcase of the life of crime happening around as you make it to your safe house. Though that is very much a scripted event. You don't see that life later on in the free open world. In your safe house, you can hide from the cops, heal up with these RX bottles, and acquire a baseball bat, in this one at least. There's no ammunition to restock here. Most importantly, this is how you save. No quick saving, just hard saves at safe houses, again very much like GTA San Andreas. At the end of a mission, you get this totally cool mission complete screen. Pew pew. Some extra XP and cash. We also earned a respect level and gained health as well as a skill point. You can spend the points to upgrade fighting, shooting, health, speed, and street smarts. Fighting and health are just flat stat increases. The other 3 increase individual skills such as a boost to attack and movement speed at level 5 speed, but level 6 gives a reload and conceal speed upgrades. Street Smarts is the most unique and unusual, boosting other in-game mechanics like decreasing heat and vendetta earn through your actions. We'll see those mechanics later. I chose Street Smarts. The weapon tab lets you look at weapons you've encountered, so far just a bat. Luca meets us outside and starts to give us the rundown of what they do. In a great storytelling move, while Luca is telling us he would never go against the Godfather and about respect, he blocks the road. The driver honks at Luca and he turns. The driver, shocked at seeing who it is, desperately backs up, simultaneously telling us Luca is a man of power, well known and feared, while he tells us Don Corleone is well above him, and that he's gained his respect. You can also see reflections in the windows as you walk past, a little in-game flexing to show off some reflections. Not too bad for 2006. Our first mob job is now underway. Old Emilio's giving his kickback to the Tattaglias, not to us, and so begins our first protection racket job. Negotiation doesn't pan out, skills can help with that later. Each owner has a pressure level under their health. You can apply pressure, usually by breaking things, or them, to increase the level. Getting them into the red zone pushes them into their breaking point and fails the extortion. You have to come back later. Their breaking point also disappears quickly, so you need to remember it. Street Smarts upgrades can increase the display time, a very interesting use of skills and game mechanics coming together. Some businesses also have a racket upstairs. You can buy it out, getting the maximum amount to your weekly reward, but it does cost you money, or you can take it over, risking potentially loss of money, but you don't actually have to pay them then. It's a great mechanic to give you the choice of either an instant reward, or paying a bit now but getting a bigger reward later. This tutorial guide gives in straight away. Taking over businesses and rackets adds to your weekly income. There's no mechanic where the other families will try and retake the businesses. The only way you lose some income from them is from mob wars, which we'll get to much later. It's a neat system and one of the main things I distinctly remember, having played this game all those years ago, building and creating your empire. Not done with throwing game mechanics at you, you need to bribe the police sergeant to look the other way. I noticed the pretty slick money handover too. Using a quick motion to initiate the money bundle handover, it's a gaming trick as passing props between models is really hard and they did a good job of hiding it here. You get a buffer time indicated by this green bar. Less severe crimes are looked over while it's active. Once the mission is over, a black-jacketed man stands in front of you. These are Don Corleone's men. There are 5 families in total. Your family, the Corleones, wear black. They work out of Little Italy but don't control it. The Barzini family, who run Midtown, wear green. The Tattaglia family run Brooklyn and Little Italy and wear tan. The Stracci family, who run New Jersey, wear blue. And the Cuneo family, who run Hell's Kitchen, wear red. Nice of everyone to colour code for us indeed. Mr. Advice here gives us a note on the side missions, basically letting you know you can extort more businesses. So heading out to do just that, we can begin our work. Each owner has their own weak spot. The tutorial guy's weakness was property damage. This barber's weakness is being punched repeatedly. Me too, my friend. Me too. You can keep pushing past the green bar for a bigger payout, but keep in mind their health and limit, making weak spots more important to find so you can get the most out of people. Other families' goons are around the area protecting the place. If you try to extort, they open fire, so watch out. If the owner gets taken out by your less than heroic actions, you also get vendetta points for that family, like you do when you take out one of their goons. We'll see more of those mechanics later. Heading out to explore my extortion powers, I rather unwisely took on a heavily defended place. The AI can sometimes not be the smartest, so I managed to get the business front okay, but the racket out back ended me. I was iced, as the screen likes to exclaim. When downed, you end up outside the closest healing place, be it a hospital or back alley med center. Fortunately, there's no reloading from your last save. I lost cash and the vendetta level that I accumulated shooting the Tattaglia family members dropped a little bit. That information is only shown when you fall, however, so it's hard to figure out exactly how much money you lost once you're revived. Heading back there, all my progress was saved, so forewarned, I went in blasting again. Combat is interesting, not the most refined or elegant. You can fortunately take a shotgun blast like a champ though. Heading up the elevator, we show the racketeers face the inside of boxes to take it over. When out and about, you might see these black diamonds on your minimap. These are the purveyors of off-center goods you can buy. Seriously, this really bugs me, but it's probably the result of the fixes required to get the game working, no doubt the widescreen fix. Our next job is to help out Paulie and Monk. Your young man's bravado comes out when talking to Paulie.
So, you Luca's new errand boy?
I ain't nobody's errand boy.
Hey, take a joke, why don't you?
Take it easy. Take it easy.
You aren't a silent protagonist in this game, but the characterization is pretty minimal. You might say it's allowing you to see yourself as the player, but it also kind of makes you feel less connected to the character in the world. The Undertaker's daughter got beat up by some punks, and we're gonna teach them a lesson. For no other reason other than tutorial is needed, you have to sneak up this short part of the footpath. No hiding mechanics, no real reason, just crouch up. You're tasked with busting some heads. Non-lethal are the boss's orders though. These 2 unfortunate lads are the grappling mechanics tutorial. One to smash against walls. The game's not too fond of things not being lined up properly, so it took a few tries to smash this guy against the wall. The next is a throw, achieved by grappling someone, swinging your mouse and letting go mid-swing to toss them. This throwing mechanic is really difficult with certain mouse sensitivities. The next one is to slam, non-lethally of course. With the punk scared and a non-lethal spade to the face, we leave. Now off to see Luca on our next grand adventure. Luca mentions our army boy days when handing us a weapon. The year is 1945, just after World War II, so explains your basic combat skills and training. Now begins the gun tutorial. Annoyingly, the shoulder you aim over is determined by where the camera is at the time you pull out the weapon. There is no swap shoulder button, so you're stuck until you re-aim. This is really frustrating, especially on PC if you like doing the free aim a lot like I do. You can lock onto a target, then manually aim at body parts with an interesting system that allows for shoulder and leg shots to disarm or stumble your opponent. You can also take cover on walls with the caps lock rather awkwardly. I rebounded to the V button. You can only lock on aim while in cover, no manual unfortunately, which is a shame. Letting go, then pressing the right mouse button again targets a new enemy. A bit of a clunky system, but it gets the job done I suppose. Lastly is the manual aim that you toggle on and off with left alt. This also showcases the basic car deformation system it has. Nothing too fancy for the time, but it's okay. Once you're done annoying the neighborhood with gunfire, it's time to get behind the wheel properly as we take Luca to a meeting. The Don wants him to play the unhappy man and try to get inside of the Tattaglia family. With what feels like an unnecessary time limit, we have to rush through traffic to get Luca to the meeting. The driving is pretty fun, arcadey style. Nothing groundbreaking, but it could be worse. WASD, and for some reason the right mouse button is handbrake. It's relatively simple. We get voiceover as we drive, Luca getting his orders.
I'm a little worried about this Salazzo fella. I want you to find out what he's got on his fingernails.
I'm pretty sure the audio is ripped directly from the movie. And yes, it actually sounds that bad. There's no audio sliders in the menu, so you get what you get. This type of storytelling is never used again. This is the only time you hear voiceover like this, which is a really weird choice. Luca heads inside while we wait in the alley. Very conspicuous. We watch on at the meeting. Luca is viciously executed, and our incredibly hard to miss ugly mug is spotted. Shocking, I know. Gunfire breaks loose as another mechanic is presented. You can crouch behind waist-high crates manually for cover and shoot over them, aiming manually or locked. Shooting your way inside, we deal with Luca's assassins. Now with sirens blaring, we need to escape, and so begins our first run from the cops. You can't shoot while driving. Ramming and skilled driving are your only weapons. The cops can shoot you, however, so pushing them into parked cars or traffic is key. You can also run over pedestrians. Surprising no one, the cops aren't too keen on it. Though testing later in open world, they're quite happy for you to run over just one person. 2 or 3 is when they start to take an exception. With a tight time limit, I make it back with 20 seconds to spare. I love games when they give a good, tight time frame for timed driving sequences. Many err too far on the side of caution. While there weren't mere seconds remaining, I felt the squeeze enough to know that a few wrong turns or a bad accident might have left me running out of time. Though sadly, they do err much more on the side of caution later on in timed drives. We desperately call up Monk to let him know what happened. He tells us not to talk on the phone, and he'll meet us. You slump down against the wall in a way that people only ever do in the movies, the weight of what just happened sinking in. We get $2,000 for the job, however, so that's nice. I'd also like to take a quick second just to state how insane being cavalierly given $2,000 is in 1945. Adjusted for inflation, that is the equivalent of being given $36,000 USD. The scale of money in this game is completely wrong. It doesn't really affect the game, you can just easily tell how wrong the amount is immediately. So still in the beginning of the game, but with the buying power equivalent of $120,000 in my pocket, we head out to see Monk. Before I do, however, I walk into the other room in my building, and because it's 2006, it of course contains 2 women dancing in sexy lingerie outfits. For those that looked over to their second monitor at the words lingerie and sexy women, you now must like and subscribe. Those are the rules. I don't make them, I just enforce them. Downstairs, Mr. Advice lets us know we can hit banks, suggesting to pay off the cops first, bring ammo and dynamite to blow up the vault. Noted, my friend. I'll do that later. We need to meet Monk in the afternoon, and it actually needs to be in the afternoon. The mission disappeared while I was messing around, so waiting around, I got my first payday, which pops up every Sunday. Waiting around, Mr. Advice finally told me Monk was looking for me at the barber's. Unfortunately, or not, depending on your perspective, the day-night cycle mechanic is never used again. It just happens this once here, and that's it. We see him meet his sister, Frankie, as suspicious men are seen, and the Don heads to grab some fruit. As we're panically telling Monk Luca is gone, the Don and Monk are hit. Monk begs us to save his sister as we get into a deadly shootout. Taking the shot, a good use of the aiming mechanic system, we save Frankie, and the desperate drive to save the Don starts. Following the ambulance with Don Corleone's son Fredo riding shotgun, we battle through the streets. I will say the action cutscenes you get are very well done. The motion of the cars and the camera shots are all really good. The brutality, grit, but also mafia movie fantasy comes through in all of them. It's just a shame that they're few and far between throughout the game. With the Don's health dropping, we get cornered on the bridge. In the shootout, I accidentally pop the guy we're supposed to interrogate. I fail the mission, but thankfully this does let me know that missions are checkpointed. No restarting from the start for this trigger-happy guy. The bridge gives you your first long-range combat. After firing, you need to let the reticle shrink for the best accuracy. Goons all have a rank on their health bar. The more lines they have, the higher the level and the tougher they are. Meaning level 3 and 4s can take a sarcastic amount of bullets to drop sometimes. Note, in some scenes like this, you can still interact using the mouse controls to grab and what have you. So I ruin the drama of this scene, and we learn that Sollozzo, the guy Luca was meeting, has our consigliere, Tom Hagen, at the diner. After a desperate drive to the hospital, we get the Don there. Fredo is roughly interrogated by his brother, Sonny. A good bit of character introduction, showing Fredo was a meek fellow while Sonny is hot-headed. We inform some guy of what happened and the information we gleaned. I say some guy because although I recognise this gentleman from the films, I don't know his name. No one has said it yet and the subtitles don't state who's talking. Sometimes the game seems to rely too heavily on the idea that everyone playing knows the movie, which creates some clunky writing like not actually introducing a character. All he needed to say was, I'm blankety blank. Both Sonny and Fredo say their names out loud to each other as soon as they meet. Writing-wise, it may not be the best, but it's the easiest way to quickly let you know who's who. We learn his name soon, but we don't know if we can trust him. To us, he's just some guy. Though you could assume we've met him in our past, we, the player, haven't experienced that past. So some guy says they'll take it from here and we are put back into free roam. I headed out to see if I could extort a few more businesses. Some people have pretty high pressure thresholds, making it difficult if not impossible to game while at lower levels. A good way to keep the player from completely steamrolling the entire mechanic from the start. I couldn't get this hotel owner to crack. I did however find you can perform executions on people once their health is low enough, which is nice, in a horrific sort of way. Fleeing the scene, we head to the next mission. I also noticed that while in the beginning there were arrows pointing you in the right direction, like an in-game GPS, they seem to have disappeared now. Almost like they developed the system but didn't implement it further than the first level. It pops up a little bit later on. At the Corleone compound, you can chat to this fellow. He misses Luca and reminisces.
I remember one time he killed one of our own guys just for giving the Corleones a bad name.
A chilling reminder of the fanaticism that these people have to the family and how little they sometimes regard other people's lives. I heard a ringing phone, so I investigated. These phones are at safe houses and calls remind you of your current task.
It's Tom. Come over to the compound. We want to talk about your future.
You literally called the compound I'm at to tell me this, okay. Looking inside, you can definitely see emptiness in some of the rooms. They lack those little extras, like you would find in GTA for instance, a pizza box here, a magazine, anything really. The set dressing, as it were, can be rather sparse in this game. It's those little things that make a room feel real and lived in. Now we go ahead and speak to the family about our future in the family. Inside we overhear some very suspicious news. Tom managed to talk his way out of being held captive. This actually ends up amounting to nothing, but I found it suspicious. We are now made an unofficial enforcer for the Corleone family. Tom gives us our promotion with some XP and cash. You can check your career progress in the menu. Enforcer isn't on there for some reason, but you have progressed. You can look at what you'll receive when promoted to associate, a better respect modifier, which is your XP, and your tribute percentage goes down from 70 to 65%. That's the cut the family takes at the end of every week. Mr. Cheerful Luca Story here from earlier lets you know that Comenza's looking for you, our next main mission. Just before we leave so you can't miss it, this guy, again no name, gives us our first hit list job. You'll get specific hit target jobs throughout the game. The basic pay is for the contract, and if you fulfill the optional requirement, you get a much bigger bonus. You can actually say no when he asks you, but I'm here to be a big boy mafia man, so sign me up. Also saying no basically does nothing. Outside, Sonny lets us know he got started boosting trucks like the one behind him. It would have been nice to be introduced to the mechanic in a less obvious way, but I'll keep an eye out for them, I guess, when I'm out and about. The map shows two types of markers for missions. The circle is the start of a mission, the X is an objective you already have. Blue are the main missions, while the orange are the side missions like the hit list jobs. These are optional but required for full completion. Heading to the orange marker, we make our first hit. Using nothing but fisticuffs, we whack Mikey Saleri. The fisticuffs are required for the bonus. It's a nice way to encourage using the game mechanics the game provides, and adds a bit more variety to the hit list jobs rather than just go there, shoot guy, go home. Now to put the game on pause for a little bit, I had to reformat my PC as I was in desperate need. And of course, upon reinstalling the Godfather, it didn't work. at all. A setting in Windows Security Exploitation Protection settings called Force Randomization for images needs to be defaulted to off for this game to work. I'm not actually telling you should do this. I don't know enough about this setting to say it's safe to turn off. But The Godfather and, for instance, I found Fallout New Vegas also just didn't launch with this setting on. But good news, I did discover that you can up the frame rate from 30 to 60. So say hello to your smoother frame rate. You can go higher or uncap it altogether, but this happens. If I could play Sonic music here, I absolutely would. But fine, now no longer going faster than the speed of sound, we stop off at the Falconite Bar to meet with Clemenza. Ah, this guy, that's Clemenza, right, the unnamed guy from before. He wants us to go to the hospital. The Don's still there. The cops are watching the hospital, but Clemenza wants some of our guys there. He doesn't trust the police. Considering how easy it is for us to bribe them, that's understandable. After talking to a few of them, you realize that the generic black-suited guys with the symbol above their head are essentially information dumps, be it pointing you to the main mission or some side jobs to do. I did notice during this cutscene, Clemenza's eyes were going a little bit walkabout. I tested going back to 30 frames per second, but it seems it's just an animation thing. These in-world chat animations seem to be a little bit more ropey. The frame rate seems to be linked to load times as well. Loading my character from the same save point with 30 versus uncapped was much faster. I'll stick to 60 frames for a happy medium. We take our post outside the hospital for some guard duty. Flirting with Monk's sister, we head inside to check out the hospital. Weapons aren't allowed, so we have to surrender them, but now we can have a little look around. Guards walk the halls and two stand outside Don Corleone's room. We do that of the time creepy, touching-the-face flirting, but are interrupted by an assassin. Taking down the assassin, we run into Michael Corleone. If you're familiar with The Godfather, you won't be familiar with this face, as it should be Al Pacino's face. Pacino, however, had already licensed his likeness to a Scarface video game, a 2006 open-world crime action game based on a movie. Sound familiar, right? It's a game I might cover in the future. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to. The hospital is under attack. Michael tells us to get out through the basement and inform Tom Hagen of the situation. Up next is something special, but also rather sad. You see, Marlon Brando, along with a few other of the original actors, lent their voices and likenesses to the game. Sadly, Marlon Brando was very ill at the time. What lines he did record were apparently too bad quality to use for the game, due to his failing voice and the requirement for an oxygen machine. He passed away in 2004, 2 years before the release of this game. A sound-alike was used to replicate his voice. These last lines here, however, are still from Marlon Brando himself. You can tell how weak his voice was, how frail he sounded.
I know the Tattaglia family is bringing misfortune out on our heads. Well, that's life. Everybody's got their own tale of sorrow.
Everybody's got their own cradle of sorrow. The final words from Marlon Brando. But enough sadness, we now need to make an escape. Below are long corridors filled with enemies. You feel the grip of tension as your ammo is limited, requiring you to melee and use careful aiming to get through. Sadly, they don't really repeat this later on. It's a one-time use thing again. I found myself caught out and iced. The checkpoint sends you back to the top to do it all again. I did have a laugh out loud moment here. Having made the coast clear, or so I thought, Frankie tells me to be careful and I tell her not to worry as goons crouch and prepare right behind me. Frankie takes the ambulance to go get Tom as we head back upstairs to protect the Don. Upstairs, we get one last gun battle. The AI seems to secretly know if you have a weapon out. When I put it away, they come out from cover and charge you. You can actually use this to your advantage to catch them out. Your health can regenerate a little bit. You gain back the light green portion if you aren't damaged again. Which is a nice little touch to the health mechanic, I quite like it. Very much encouraging the use of the cover system. Michael meets us and we head outside. A police captain and his men capture us, giving Michael a beating before they can be stopped by Tom. He claims we are private investigators hired by the family to protect the Don. A nice little legal loophole. This magically appearing information man, or MAME as I shall now be referring to them as, lets us know we need to meet Clemenza. We're invited to a party at Rosa's. A swinging party is above this flower shop. You can do some form of grotesque flirting or making a move with some lingerie enthusiasts. This is somehow a successful negotiation. It's honestly pretty uncomfortable. And this whole charisma negotiation system with the ladies feels like leftover mechanics they never ended up using. Dolores here does call us handsome, which is nice. I guess she's not wearing her glasses or something. Once you've talked to all three people with the icon above their head and hang around awkwardly for a little bit, the fun police bust in and ruin the party. A cop we're familiar with takes away Rosa for interrogation. With our friend handcuffed to the piano, it's up to Muggins here to save the dame from the evil cop. This cop feels like an addition like our own character is to the story. He's often aside with us in scenes that feel pulled from the movie. Like earlier here, when the movie's main characters are opposite us doing the more movie-accurate scenes. It's like when a TV series adds a character in later on in a series and adds some shots with them totally being there the whole time, as it were. Now begins the obligatory not-so-stealthy stealth section. Fireworks begin to sound off in the sky for some unknown reason. Stealthing begins awkwardly with me forgetting the rather obtuse controls and having an awkward moment. The fireworks seem to be happening to ostensibly cover up the sounds we make. For story reasons, I guess. This gives me the dreaded feeling we all get when realizing forced stealth sections are coming in our future. You have plenty of time to take down the guards. You can sneak up behind unaware enemies, grab them, then use X to strangle them. This is apparently more silent. The heartbeat lets you know that they are still alive even after their health bar is depleted. If you continue to hold it down, you eventually snap their necks, sort of confirming the kill as it were. I actually quite like this mechanic. It's a conscious choice to continue after the foe is defeated. It leaves the decision to continue up to you. Sadly, my idea that this mechanic will come up later on actually doesn't bear fruit, so I have no idea why it's there. We fight more crooked cops inside and make our way up. Our evil cop sergeant fortunately didn't harm Rosa yet. We chase him upstairs and need to whack him, but make it look like an accident. Dragging him to the edge, we throw him over. It's a really cool and dramatic scene.
He was drunk. He fell. It was an accident.
With our valiant work complete, Rosa tells us to get to the Corleone compound to lie low. After busting some more heads and taking over a few more rackets with varying degrees of success, you definitely get the feeling it's something you're expected to do as you play the game. Bouncing around, doing a mission, then some business extorting, then rinse and repeat. If someone has a accident and you come back later, the business will be closed for a while as punishment, so keep those business owners alive. You can find more safe houses to buy, but they don't come cheap. Goodbye to today's equivalent of $273,000. They come nicely stocked with ammo, and of course, there's sexy lingerie women dancing in another room for you to flirt with. Your first apartment and 2 you're gifted later don't come stocked. All the rest, regardless of price, come fully stocked with ammo. It would have been nice to have some form of mechanic where you get ammo delivered to safe houses as you level up, but sadly nothing like that exists. I also found some lovely flock of birds that break up the monotony of the brown brick buildings in the Little Italy area, though they're very much don't look at them too hard background pieces. Don't worry, PNG pigeons can't hurt you. I hope. I also did discover for some reason the Tommy gun's fire rate is faster when you're crouching. I have absolutely no idea why this happens. Apologising to my neighbours, we once again head over to the Corleone compound. We overhear Tom and Sonny arguing. We get some more characterisation of the two. Sonny is gung-ho and Tom is more about using your words, the pen mightier than the sword type. We're also made an associate of the family, our first major promotion. The family cut goes down and our respect multiplier goes up. A meme lets us know that Clemenza wants to see us again, and another outside encourages us to hit the other families hard and run this town. This white-shirted guy, Jaggy, actually comes up later on, like 20-something hours from now, so remember him, huh? We also need to take down warehouses, so we'll get to one of those at some point. You'll also see on the map this icon, a weapon outlined in gold with 3 stars. You can actually set a custom map marker using the plus or minus target button down here. You can click and drag it around to place it better, but only once. You need to refresh it and drag it around again if you don't leave it in the right place. A weird map system, but serviceable. Heading to the outlined weapon, you'll find a vendor selling an upgraded version of a weapon. The Midnight Special is a little out of my price range at 75 grand, or in today's money, that's 1.3 million. So I'll need to save some money for sure. Level 3 is the maximum any weapon can go to, and this Midnight Special is the cheapest. Checking my objectives, the warehouse objective text is in blue, but the map marker is the main quest, so you have to sort of guess what warehouse is being referred to. I take a guess and head over. There's no vehicle summon system in this game, but you can take any parked car consequence-free. You don't need to seem to hotwire the car or anything either, you just get in and go. I now head into a new area, leaving Little Italy. The nicer looking area even has a burning barrel and orange cart on the side of the road, adding a bit more variety and contrast to the barren streets of Little Italy. What I think is the warehouse's road is blocked by Tattaglia's goons and cars. You'll find it outside all the major locations like this, warehouses, hubs and compounds. Unlike businesses, once you cross the threshold, they start shooting. I've personally found the Tommy gun to be the best weapon. It has plenty of bullets and its accuracy is okay even at low shooting levels. I've found it almost pointless to use any other weapon so far, though it is one of the biggest indicators of rather subpar reload animations, as the drum mag doesn't even get removed, just hand motions that magically refill the thing. I discovered multiple things just up ahead. 1. Taking down a lot of goons and businesses leads to vendetta building up, and I've just started a mob war. Oops. You need to bribe an FBI agent or bomb a rival's compound to win the war. 2. This isn't a warehouse as I thought, it was in fact the Tattaglia's own family compound. 3. Barrels on fire explode when shot for some weird reason. 4. Compounds are really hard to defeat. 5. Your own businesses get bombed if you lose, affecting your weekly income. This is the only consequence you can have against your weekly income. As I mentioned before, families don't take back businesses you've already taken over. With that gathering information exercise complete, I decide to just get on with some more missions. We go and meet Clemenza once again. He's randomly standing outside this building. We've been betrayed and Clemenza knows it's Paulie Gatto. We get the glorious job of whacking Paulie when we get the signal. But first, we've got some domestic terrorism to commit in the way of blowing up a rival's business. Getting into the car with his good first-person shot, Paulie tells us to scooch over and not sit behind him. A sign he's edgy because he's a traitor, perhaps? Clemenza wants us to first hit a Tattaglia's bar before we take out Paulie. Paulie is ordered to get some cannoli while we go get the bomb. When you go inside, you'll catch the end of a suspicious conversation.
Okay, but don't be shooting at me, alright?
This is your last warning. Pay up or die.
Very suspicious indeed. We follow both of them around to the bar down an alley. It's nice to have NPCs that run at a good speed when you need to follow them. It's very much appreciated. You might catch that Paulie slips the other way as Clemenza and yourself go around to the front area. Very suspicious. Inside is a trap. They were waiting, but that doesn't stop us. Enemies can tend to be a little bit bullet spongy. I do like the animations they have though, the filmatic throwing of their shoulders side to side, it's all very mob film action. Bomb planted, you have a decent but not ridiculous amount of time to flee. The bomb goes off dramatically, another filmatic shot. We drive excitingly away, perhaps a little too close at first. I do love this shot of the flames in the distance as we drive away. It's very brief but conveys this emotion that perhaps you're not the happiest, being someone who lost a lot to a similar explosion in your youth. Perhaps though it's for the job to come. Clemenza asks where Paulie was during the ambush. He claims he was covering the rear. Incredibly suspicious. I do like that we are now actually sitting behind Paulie as Clemenza gives the nod on the pretense of taking a leak. But Paulie hears the cocking of our gun and makes a run for it. As he flees into the maze of shipping containers, he tries to justify himself.
They only asked me to call in sick, nothing more.
Confirming to us he was a traitor, explosive crates dot the way and Paulie shoots them when we get too close. You can destroy them yourself to avoid the explosion. The animation getting back up is quite long and laborious. The final fight itself was pretty lackluster, unlike the explosive chase. He kind of just runs at me and I mow him down pretty easily. We get the famous line from the movie once the job is done.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
Our getaway driver shows up, but he's brought the cops on his tail, so we now need to flee. There are a few random ramps to jump over for no reason other than attempting to add some excitement, I think. It's the type of thing that feels like a higher-up said, driving away is too boring, add some ramps. We race from the cops to Paulie's apartment. Clemenza says we need to do some cleanup there. You don't actually need to lose the cops, you just need to make it to the objective, which is a little silly. They were everywhere just a few seconds ago, but fine, we're here now. Making it safely there, we're rewarded with Paulie's apartment. No cleanup is actually done, but I guess that was done off screen. Paulie's apartment doesn't have any ammo either, just some health, but it's at least another place to save. And yes, because these buildings are mostly copy and pasted, another room of dancing working girls also exists here too. A nice detail with the phones, you can use them even if they aren't ringing to find out where your next mission is. This mission, which actually points us to a hit list, has 3 differently voiced messages for you.
Tessio owns a bar over in Brooklyn, the Embassy Club. He's looking for you.
Tessio was asking about you. Go to the Embassy Club in Brooklyn.
Message from Tessio. Meet him at the Embassy Club in Brooklyn. Might have some work for you.
The moaning and rhythmic thumping in the background, by the way, comes from the working girls' room. It comes and goes. I suppose so do their clients. Moving on, I notice I don't actually have a job in my list, nor a marker for the mission. The job on the phone was for the hit list, so I decided to see if I could actually get a change of clothes. This little number is getting a little bit old. After much confusion, I eventually found out you need to go to the main menu to change clothes. Leaving the game and editing it when loading your character. You can change your appearance and clothing as you desire, buying what you'd like now that save file has some cash. It's a truly baffling choice for me, but continues to point out a feeling I've consistently had while playing the game so far. A lot of money seems like it was spent on the rights, actors, and licensed music, leaving a slim budget for the people actually making the damn game. Adding a tailor shop you could actually go to in the world was apparently just beyond the budget. The next hit list is a stealth mission. The bonus is for using a garrote wire to make the hit. An escort will work as a distraction, allowing us to sneak up on the target. In the hotel, you get 2 opportunities to test out the garrote wire mechanics before you get to the target. It's a nice little tutorial if you want to take it. Forgetting it's like a normal weapon that I have to unholster to use, I end up having to choke the first guy out. Rather goofily, the people you attack get out of the garrote wire, then fall down. This is if you don't complete the full animation. I do like the glint of metal that flickers as you garrote, a nice extra special effect that gives the sense of a razor wire. You could imagine it being a line in a book. The glint of wire flashed in the light as it was thrown over the victim's neck. That type of deal. This place has a safe. You can use dynamite to blow it up and get some cash and respect, and it also replaces the dynamite. These safes are collectibles, but I didn't actually know it at the time. Now the phone rings for our next main mission, leaving me to believe that though it seems like a choice, the hit lists are required to continue the main story. I also like this nice touch of a passerby stopping me to say,
"The Corleones make this a better town."
"Oh, thank you. We definitely do, don't we?" Right? Monk wants to see us. He tells us to meet Tom at the compound. He also asks us to join him for a drink. He asks you about you and his sister.
Hey, lover boy. I've been meaning to ask you. What's up with you and my sister?
None of your business. I don't ask you about Crazy Jane, do I?
I will say our response is incredibly hostile in spite of Monk's very wink-wink nudge-nudge attitude. A rather disconnected feeling to the conversation. He suggests you go see her, but I don't really get a map marker or anything for it, so I don't really know where to go. Monk simply says, "Why don't you go meet her? She's working in Brooklyn," which is insanely nondescript. It actually feels like cut content, to be honest. What I think is another MAME turns out to be the next hit list job. Multiple people actually give out hit list jobs. There's 4 in total, and all the jobs are specific to them. This hit is a bit further away, but at least we now get to drive past some slightly more interesting spots in town. This one requires our target to burn. It is the most sarcastically easy job so far. Stand on the bridge, lock on, and throw. Job done. I buy a safe house in this part of town to save, and now I notice I have no money. Wondering if I can just stand around and wait for a payday, I give it a try. Every 15 minutes in-game seems to be 7.5 seconds, so at the game's traditional 30 frames per second, it was 15 seconds per in-game 15 minutes. Basically, default is 1 second per 1 minute in-game. After a brisk 1 hour of standing around, I get my next payday. Very much confirming to me that this isn't the best use of my time. At the Corleone compound, we meet Tom. Jack Waltz has been blackballing, meaning reject a candidate applying to become a member of a private club, typically by means of a secret ballot, needed to look that definition up for sure, Don Corleone's godson and famous singer Johnny Fontaine. We're off to Hollywood to convince Mr. Waltz to change his mind. A cutscene sends us on a wobbly propellered plane to Hollywood. We find ourselves outside of Mr. Waltz's manor. He rejects Tom.
She was beautiful. She was young. She was innocent. She was the greatest piece of ass I ever had, and I've had them all over the world. She threw it all away to make me look ridiculous. Now you get the hell out of here.
I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about, and no context has really been given for this tirade to us as the player. Also, his mouth clips through his bottom jaw a little bit here. But with that, we get the signal. Rocco has a task and we're here to help him out. This is a forced stealth section. The first part is very easy, as you simply follow Rocco, avoiding the guards he magically knows are there. I guess he has a third-person perspective on life too. We sneak to the horse stables and Rocco gets to work, and I finally cotton on to what we're doing. It's the infamous horse head in the bed scene, but we're the ones actually doing it. We stand guard as Rocco works, but we get interrupted, choking out the guard before the alert goes out, reminding you of the alert system mechanic. Rocco has the head, so now we lead the stealth. While not the best stealth in the world, it does its job for this thankfully small section. With the clunky controls, it can be hard to remember them in a panic. Once someone from afar sees you and opens fire, the alert is raised and you fail. Fortunately, you are checkpointed and can resume from the barn. Again with the goofy garrote mechanic, if you hold it for longer, when the heartbeat runs out, the animation is fine, but it's a lot faster to just let go once their health is depleted. It's the exact same with the strangle animation. Getting rumbled a few times, I try to find the correct route. You can eventually make it upstairs. Fortunately, the map marker becomes an up or downwards arrow if you need to change elevation. The last guard flirts poorly with a maid upstairs. Taking him down, we're finally home free. Rocco does actually wait for the maid to not be seen, which is nice. He times his movements to remain out of sight. She doesn't spot the body of the guard on the ground either because it kindly disappeared for us. Then we get the cutscene of the infamous scene. No need to actually escape ourselves nicely. The mission was about 10 minutes in total of controlled play for me, so at least it wasn't an excruciatingly long forced stealth section. It was about 2 minutes from the barn to the objective if I didn't make a mistake. Back home, a MAME tells us to meet Tom in Middletown for our next objective. I went to do some extortion grinding and stumbled upon the Tattaglia's warehouse finally. It looks like this on the map. Now, knowing it's a bit easier to tell what's what. It's a tough slog through a large amount of enemies, but making it to the end finds you extorting this fella to take it over. You get a special bonus for doing so too. My stats currently look like this. I've statted heavily into charisma, basically. It makes taking over businesses a lot easier. Meeting with Tom, he happily gives us this apartment as a thanks from the Don. We say,
Thank you. Tom, please tell Don Corleone how grateful Frankie and I are.
Frankie? What? When did this happen? Why am I now living with her? When did this romance even begin? In the hospital when we fought for our lives? Right. Frankie even asks us to take her to a nightclub, saying we can go now or later, but you can't actually do it. All of this is so unexpected it feels like I missed something, like several side missions with a dinner date and other escapades perhaps. But no, here we are, me man, me get woman reward, no effort required. Once again, this feels like all the budget went to getting Marlon Brando's face on the box, leaving nothing for side missions that get you to actually, care or know this woman in any way, shape or form. Fine, I've got missions to get on with anyways. We also get tasked with taking down the Verona warehouse to gain control of Little Italy fully. Where that is on the map, I have no idea. I do discover later on more functionalities to the map, but unfortunately at the moment, I'm clueless. As I head to the compound, let's talk about music. There is a bunch of licensed music which I can't obviously show you. The problem with it is, there's so few tracks they get old very fast. They got the rights to the music from the movie, but like someone who spent a lot of their precious budget on a single video game, the music is played to death. It gets old fast and the variety is minimal. Don't get me wrong, it's very iconic, just lacking in variety. The musical pieces in the cutscenes are amazing, don't get me wrong. I'm more talking about the general music that gets looped when you're running around, which is most of this game. I'm still enjoying the driving mechanics though. It's fine at a higher frame rate and the sound effects for the cars are good.
Yeah, of course.
Gear changes are good. The RPM pitch changes, along with braking, fit well together for this older game. High speeds aren't too obnoxious with their pitch either, which can be a problem of open world games with cars. Our next job is to sneak into a restaurant where Michael will be having a meeting. We have to rush there in 4 minutes, pedal to the metal. You can get there pretty fast, but I've learned to check the map as sometimes you can find yourself down dead ends. The road arrows decide to not show up here either to lead you. They did when driving to Paulie's apartment earlier, so I'm assuming they're manually programmed in only occasionally. Sneaking in is pretty easy. I'm sure they won't notice these missing guards. You need to browbeat this guy into opening the door, but he's a pushover. They occasionally use this mechanic at clubs. These are businesses you can take over, but the doors are locked until you get through this first guy. He unlocks the already open door and you head inside to plant the taped gun. Michael has the meeting and makes the brutal hit and flees. Again, a scene from the movie, but with Muggins here now too. Michael teleports to his vehicle, leaving us to deal with the wave of bullets. Rushing to the car, you now need to make a nail-biting escape. Enemy vehicles are hot on your tail, and your only weapons are relying on Michael's AI to shoot the vehicles and bashing them into obstacles yourself. Michael thanks you for your work and heads off on a boat to lay low elsewhere. A meme appears and says this.
So Michael's headed to Sicily, huh? I won't tell. I think the family's gathering over at the Falconite.
This is a big problem this game has, relying on memes to give us information because they either forgot or couldn't afford the higher paid actors to say things, so they had to fill all the gaps with these guys. But now we know he's heading to Sicily and where I need to go next. I stood here for a little bit just watching the traffic and people walk by. You really get the feeling of a lack of real life. Every car is equally spaced, taking the exact same line, no honking, no stopping suddenly, no life. I note that GTA San Andreas had all of these things and more and came out 2 years prior to the release of this game. It's sadly just this paper-thin veneer of life here. Also, all these doors are massive. My head barely reaches above the door handles. Another lack of attention to detail. Unless this is normal in America, I can't confirm myself. I now take a bit of time to grind out some of the world to acquire more businesses, but also to reflect upon the game so far. I have no idea how far I am into the story. We've so far just been a background character to everyone else's story. The game feels so afraid to let us do anything other than mindless shooting and extorting businesses that I don't really care about the world or anyone in it. Everything feels so thin, like butter scraped over too much bread, to quote Bilbo. There's a lack of substance and care for the world. There's no side missions apart from the hit lists. No real mini-games, no personal growth, no artist's touch to this world. Another rather lazy reload animation sees you one-hand pumping the 2-round pump action shotgun, rather than just, reloading. This weapon should absolutely hold more than 2 rounds at a time, by the way. It's like they wanted a double-barrel shotgun, but someone modeled the wrong gun and they just had to stick with it. Though I will say I feel like this animation is more stylistic, rather than clinging to realism. Also, this weapon seller's icon is on the wrong side. He should be standing there according to the map, but he's over here. It's sometimes just those little things you notice that makes you feel like there's a lack of quality. Something fun I didn't know you could do was shoot the weapon out of the hands of an enemy. They drop it and run in for melee. A good reward for your precise or lucky shot. I do quite like that if your level and skills are high enough, you can walk into businesses and simply buy them out straight away, negating the need for combat, though some backroom rackets open fire regardless. Our next mission sees us finally being made a soldato, a soldier. Don Corleone oversees the ceremony, bringing us fully into the family as a made man. You can talk to him after the ceremony too. He has these words of wisdom.
There are men in this world who go about demanding to be killed. You must have noticed them. They quarrel in gambling games. They jump out of their automobiles in a rage. They humiliate and bully people whose capabilities they do not know. These are people who wander through the world shouting, "Kill me." There's always somebody ready to oblige them.
I have absolutely no idea what he's banging on about, but I assume it's probably from the movie. Frankie calls us and asks us to come home as she's got a surprise for us. She meets us with music and a kiss on our lips. I think this game assumed you'd make a relatively handsome man because, Frankie girl, you can do much better than this monster. Suddenly, though I will say predictably, the Tattaglias attack. Frankie runs for it, but a disembodied voice lets us know she's now been taken.
Info. We got you broad.
We interrogate this goon that kindly decided on fisticuffs for this gunfight, and we learn she's been taken to the old church. Which church is that? We magically know, apparently. We call Monk, Frankie's brother, and take the magically appeared Corleone car outside to meet him. He wastes time being angry with us in this cutscene, but at least it looks cool. We get him into the car and go to get Frankie. Our friends, the floating arrows, make an appearance guiding us down the right path, at first. They disappear later in this drive, so back to consultations with the map. It's the major downside to having hub-like areas for a map. Each section is only connected by 1 or 2 roads, so unless you learn these rather similar streets, you're always checking the map. Fortunately, at least, there are some arrows you can follow on the roads. These rather oversized signs that you can find throughout the map. I think these cars have more health and are animated for others to ride shotgun, which is why you're forced to use them, by the way. We're attacked as we drive, but make it to the church. Going into the crypt, Monk helps us out in the gunfight by mostly staring and firing into a wall. We move a pew out of the way that's there for some reason and see Frankie. I think there's supposed to be a gunshot here, but it's very low in the mix.
Ah, there you are. Frankie!
Frankie falls as we helplessly watch her bleed out.
Let him come. Don't let go.
We do get 30 grand for the job though, which is nice. Right, Monk? Eh? Monk asks us to leave so we can say goodbye to Frankie. He swears he'll get revenge on Bruno Tattaglia. A mame consoles us and lets us know to go see Sonny when we're ready. Now, I'm not a heartless jerk and it is still sad, but I would care a lot more about Frankie's demise if I knew her or Monk better. A side mission or two with Monk, maybe where he's at first resistant to us and Frankie but grows to like us. Anything, game, please. Anyway, with just over 100 grand in my pocket, today's equivalent of just under $1.9 million, I thought it high time to upgrade my favourite weapon, the Tommy gun. I also decided to check if buying the 2nd star first made the 3rd star version cheaper. The level 3 is $500,000! Merlin's beard. 9 million in today's money, in case you're wondering. Still wanting to experiment, I buy the level 2 Tommy gun for 50k and head back over, but no, it's still 500k. The level 2 holds 50 rounds and fires faster. 50 to 100 rounds is the real-life capacity of the drum mag of real-life Tommy guns the level 1 already actually has on it. I decided to reload as level 2 is just wasted money and get to grinding my rackets. This is genuinely where most of the gameplay is. A few main missions interspersed with a huge amount of running around, taking over businesses and doing hit lists. I think the reason safes drop a replacement dynamite is because every business has one and it would be so annoying to have to constantly restock while you grind. Like the developers were aware how much of this game is grinding and tried to at least make it a little less frustrating. I did rediscover the handbrake button, which is right mouse click. It's such a weird button I completely forgot about it and defaulted back to hitting spacebar, which is actually just another brake. At least I can Tokyo drift around corners to get out my feelings. One thing that is annoying about taking over businesses is the timer that is linked to the pressure gauge. It activates and stays for a certain amount of time. Street smarts increase this, but sometimes it gets activated when you're fighting the local goons and you'll find yourself with no idea how far you can push someone at all. I've yet to really find the cops to be much of a problem. I've beaten store owners, shot goons and exploded many safes, and it's never been more than 1-star level that disappears quickly. It feels like a very underused mechanic for the escapades you carry out in this game. I head to New Jersey, a place we haven't seen yet, to get some more businesses under my belt. The drive is tediously long. I have some real police squad gunfights and take over a few more places. Finally spotting one of those trucks and remembering to steal it, I do so. Also, that guy did a really bad parking job, I saw. Like a dog that finally caught the mail truck it was chasing, I had no real idea what to do with it when I got it. I eventually give up and leave it here. It's someone else's problem now. More experimentation and I found out that a guard has a money bag. I guess I just missed it, so I try to find another one. With an almost duplicated set of events along with someone else struggling to park, this time I get the bag. It's dropped by one of the goons. If you can't tell, I mean it's pretty hard to see on the UI. Rushing back to the safe house as goons in cars spawn to give chase, making it through the door of your safe house, you get the cash. A pretty easy $2,000. I know I have talked about the game not really having any mini games or other side quests, but this one is pretty limited. It barely feels like one at all. There are banks you can rob, which I'll try later as well, but that's rather similar. I did discover 2 guys beating up each other in the back room of a business I took over. You can put down $2,000 to fight one of these identical twins. Now, in a proper brawl, there is a block button which sees you leaning back. Of course, just spamming Q and E is the easiest way to win. The use of this fighting mechanic feels rather half-baked and completely underutilized. The intrusive thought to execute this man pops up, but I decide it's not very sporting. What also is not very sporting, I will say, is after defeating one twin, the other one starts fighting you too. You have 4 minutes to defeat both enemies. Their bodies disappear and you win $10,000 from this supposed prize fight. It all feels very last-minute addition or abandoned content. Like they were going to put in a proper boxing questline where you box and rise to the top, making money from the streets to the ring and have some wacky adventures too, but no. Backroom brawl is what you get. All this grinding does lead to increased family vendetta. I honestly found it easier to just intentionally get iced by the family and get the -250 vendetta. It's easier and quicker than dealing with a gang war. I do later discover an NPC you can visit to clear all vendetta eventually. For the moment, this is what I stick to. Some more grinding later and I eventually get the map to go from this to this, so a decent amount of work. This was multiple hours of running around, by the way. I do actually upgrade to the level 2 pistol to get the extended magazine, as it's my usual backup weapon as I head to our next mission. We go to meet Sonny. A nice bit of environmental storytelling with a roughed up car is sitting outside the building. Sonny's captured a capo, a high-ranking member of the Tattaglias. No doubt that was their car outside. We're in charge of the interrogation. We apply fists and threats to pressure him, but he never actually talks. Sonny lets him know, in fact, he's been a great help as he pushes him out the door to nothing. The man obviously falls to his death. They'll cremate him and Sonny believes Bruno will be at the funeral, so we're sent to interrupt said funeral. I guess they work fast in this day and age. As I drive and Tokyo drift around corners and into pedestrians, again, no consequences, I really miss having a radio. The soundtrack was what made driving around games like San Andreas much more bearable. No 40s swing or jazz here though, just emptiness or repeated theme music. We interrupt the funeral with a rather awkward and cramped gunfight. The door is locked until you clear out all the goons upstairs. Bruno ambushes us as we leave the elevator, then everyone stands around awkwardly waiting for me to get back up, which is rather sweet of them actually. Bruno RP walks at me while we take down the remaining guards as Bruno shows a general lack of concern for his life. Grabbing Bruno, you have to wrestle with the controls to get him into the oven. Finally throwing him in and bam, done. No cutscene, here's $35,000, now go away. But I guess Frankie's now avenged, yay? Now I talked about bank jobs earlier. You can head to these symbols on the map. They denote banks you can rob. Additionally, these shields are police stations. That's the place to go to bribe police. You can bribe random cops on the street, but this is a place to find one for certain. So now they'll look over my small crimes like, robbing a bank. Annoyingly, the icons for the stations don't appear on the minimap, only on the main map. This goes for the banks as well. The bank heists are rather basic. There's a few variations, but most of them you run in and downstairs, completely unquestioned. In this one, the door bars the way and you need to open fire to initiate the robbery. Some dynamite sees the vault open. Grab the bags and run, but I did actually fail this one. Coming back, the bank is now actually closed. The sign outside is unlit to denote this too, which is a nice little indicator. A different smaller bank sees less cash inside the vault, but it's easily accessible and the guards are minimal. And if you've paid off the police, they won't chase you either once outside, so spending $1,000 in bribes sees us safely with $19,000 profit. It's a bigger payout but higher risk than the truck jobs. The heat dies off gradually regardless of your location. It's dropped down by 1 by the time I leave Midtown to Little Italy. The bribe is also a location-locked mechanic, so leaving Midtown sees the timer disappear. Very strict precinct lines here, it seems. You can find the exact line by going back and forth. It's fun to do, actually. Sonny wants to see us at the compound. As I talked about before, there is a day and night cycle and car headlights do go on in the dark, but they don't actually light the road. It's just a light flare effect slapped onto the front of a car. It's a little disappointing as that's a really fun lighting effect that I do enjoy. But now we talk to Sonny. Notice the difference in volume in line delivery between us and Sonny. It's a little jarring.
They must, I don't know, have some secrets they're keeping from us. Whatever the hell it is, they must want it really bad.
What does the family want me to do now?
Bruno's gone, but the Tattaglias still attack us on sight. Sonny thinks they know something we don't and asks us to meet him at Lucy's place, whoever that is. White Shirt here gives us the details on taking down the Tattaglia's family compound. Outside Clemenza gives us a hit list job. I swear I'll get to them, get off my back, okay? At Lucy's, we once again see Tom and Sonny arguing. Like unchanging records, Tom wants to vie for peace, Sonny wants war. Sonny now wants to go after the Cuneos. They took out 2 of our guys. He wants revenge and to find out where their supplies are coming from. Now, driving around this time of day, you sometimes get some screen flickering. It seems like the color grading is turning itself off and on occasionally. I feel like it's a showcase of an older game slowly dying to new hardware. Sadly, this is happening to a lot of older games. But as we drive, Sonny waxes philosophical.
This is not a hero business, kid. You don't shoot people from a mile away. Shoot them when you see their pimples or something. In close, you know? You gotta stand right next to them, blow their heads off. Sometimes their brains, they spill all over your suit. Now, how about that, kid? How you like that?
He has an up-close and personal archetype. If you're going to shoot someone, do it so they can see you do it type attitude. Sonny is a rather violent man, hot-blooded and always wanting an eye for an eye. The voice acting, despite my previous volume gripe, is actually pretty good. You know, when you actually get to hear some. The timed drive finds us outside a cocktail bar in Hell's Kitchen. I actually already took this place over, which makes it weird to storm it. But storm it we do. The red guys, Cuneo's people, are inside and they open fire immediately. The game throws a nice trap at you with 2 melee people downstairs covering the door. Fortunately, I was quicker. Fabio here caves to punches in the face. The coward. The very nondescript The Warehouse is where the supplies are coming from. The racket owner flees and we give chase. Roadblocks block our way and goons nip at our heels as we fly through the city. This warehouse area gives us exciting fiery explosions for no real reason, but we make it there. Storming the building with Sonny, we open fire. Inside, goons actually start coming in behind us, which makes sense, and they manage to even drop me. The checkpoint is just outside the area. At least we get to drive over the exploding ramp again. Whee! Some people can really take a beating. You'll start to notice it more as the game goes on. Difficulty is made with bullet sponges rather than anything logical like body armor or something. This time we are victorious, though I nearly get dropped by these arms sticking through the walls downstairs. Sonny takes the lead in another rather well-animated cutscene for the time. Guns are being supplied to the old wharf here in Hell's Kitchen.
Artie Manzarano, he's your pope down there.
Whoa, look at this. Big-time Artie the Moose Manzarano. Hey, that's bingo for us, fellas.
I have absolutely no idea who these people are or what this guy means. Again, I always feel like I'm missing a piece of the puzzle with the story for the game so far. We finally get a bit of characterization from us as Sonny leaves us to decide this guy's fate.
Please, I have children, little children.
Everybody loses something.
It's a small line, but at least it's finally something. He pleads for his life and you have the option to leave him alive, which mechanically or story-wise does absolutely nothing. I decide to leave him and crack open the safe instead, but he actually flees, I think, believing I am now attacking him. The cheeky blighter takes a few swings at me downstairs, but I decide to leave him alone. The next drive is unnecessarily timed. The Cuneo's warehouse is literally down this long straight road from here. They always seem to do this, and I guess it's just so that you can't go gallivanting around the open well with an NPC. More fighting ensues. I laughed out loud at how goofy Sonny's shooting animation is. You right there, buddy? Okay, I'll leave you to it. A lot of combatants will often drop to their knees, Mafia movie style, if you do some but not enough damage. It's a serviceable extra touch to combat, allowing you to target other people while they spend some time getting back up. Some fire barrels set up here let you explode some bad guys real good. Wait, are we all the bad guys here? I don't know, it's actually really hard to tell. Existential crises aside, a surprise vehicle gives you a jump before you head inside. I tried some dynamite here, but as soon as you switch to pull it out, they clearly know and run at you, making trying to throw dynamite a little useless most of the time. It also knocks me down to boot and I get iced. The range for dynamite is huge. The checkpoint is just outside there, fantastically generous with the checkpoints. Wanting to check the checkpoints is why I blew myself up, you can't prove otherwise. I felt like something is missing in combat for a while, and it finally dawned on me that you have no rifle-type weapons. Nothing for long-distance shooting. I suspect it's due to the terrible view distance. They couldn't put any weapons in with a zoom because it wouldn't really work. Artie here caves to the tried and tested face punching and we take over the warehouse. We chat with Sonny a little bit. A bit more character building, but we're quickly done. It's like the voice actors, Sonny being James Caan, one of the returning actors from the movie, were expensive so they couldn't afford to get more than a few lines out of them. Sonny's actually the one that probably gets the most lines out of all of them too. Another fashion change, this time sporting this lovely number, and of course a new hat and glasses, horrifically handsome as always, gets us ready for some hit lists, because I guess I'll finally get some done. First up is Bobby. He needs to have a fall. I wrestle with the controls a little bit, but managed to pull it off. Leon gets the privilege of being thrown into a bakery furnace. I'm sure that's perfectly sanitary, you're welcome. Tommy has a juicy 20-gram bonus if you take him out silently with no witnesses. You have to stealth and wait for the witnesses to leave. A nice and short use of the stealth mechanic. Johnny is the Tattaglia's leader's son. He has to burn, and so we provide said burning. But stop everything, because I now have enough to buy the level 3 Tommy gun. $500,000 later, and we have the Dillinger. It holds a misc amount of bullets. The graphic being offset, I believe, is once again a problem with the widescreen patch, so I can't really blame the game for that one. The previous hit was the last for that contractor. As I said before, each provider of the lists have their own hits, and thankfully they're voiced with custom lines for each. They could have easily just used some generic "take this guy out" lines, but they didn't, which is nice. Next up is Oscar. We test out the Dillinger a little on his goons. Not too bad indeed. A bigger gunfight will really put this one to the test. Oscar has a really unique way he needs to get whacked. By the way, they fortunately put the hit instructions in your menu here if you forget. I totally remembered, this is just for you to know. You first have to shoot Oscar in the knee, then the shoulder, then the chin, basically the head. That gets you the contract bonus. It's a really fun way to utilize the in-game aiming mechanics, and I wish they utilized it more, honestly. I now finally notice this drop-down menu I managed to miss in the map. It lists the locations currently owned by each family and makes them flash so you can find them. Trust me, no one is madder than me for missing this. I noticed the Stracci family is actually almost gone. While I'm in New Jersey, I might as well save myself a trip and clear the place out entirely. You really miss a long-range weapon in these long street fights. The hub I take over here is a copy and paste of the warehouse from the Sunny mission we did earlier. You'll find this a lot. Most places are copy and pasted. The dock warehouses are all the same, and the same goes for a lot of businesses. They just occasionally lock a door here and there to switch it up. The game is pretty long, mostly due to the grinding of businesses you need to do. Perhaps you wouldn't notice it as much over the 40+ hours, unless you're someone like me that enjoys running around doing these types of things all at once. Then it gets super noticeable. I start a war with the Stracci family, which is fine as their compound was next on my list anyways. Fighting my way to the compound, the two buildings are again a copy and paste of the Corleone compound. You really have to rely on enemies dropping health bottles to survive. Shotgun wielders really destroy you at close range. Planting the bomb in the basement, you have to flee before it explodes. Very cruelly, the game puts goons outside ready to destroy you as soon as you leave, which you're forced to do, otherwise you'll be hit with the explosion. I get iced, but somehow win the mob war, I guess, as the bomb went off before I got dropped. So yay me. I retried, and getting into the compound garners enough vendetta to start the war all over again. Mob wars start when the vendetta bar fills up entirely. You then have 50 real-life minutes to finish it, or half that if you're at 60 frames per second. To win, you need to bomb one of those specific families' compounds. To neutralize the mob war, you need to go to an FBI agent and bribe them. You lose it if you get whacked. In the menus, you can find a page that lets you know where your vendettas are at for each family. The same goes for each location with the cops' heat. The first building is actually locked, so I take on the second building. I had a hunch that the outside enemies spawn when you enter the house at some point, so before planting, I go back outside to clear my escape. Further testing reveals they trigger when you enter the basement. The bomb explodes and voila, I have taken over New Jersey. I'm sure some of you American viewers can tell me how much of a privilege that must be. You get a chunk of respect and get a safe house in the now burning building. Very nice. It does actually stop burning later and then can be used as a safe house, by the way. Back to the hit list as I take the long drive out of New Jersey, but there aren't actually any available yet. I did actually find a truck stopped in the tunnel. It's just one of those random trucks with a goon holding $1 grand, but at least it's something. Though by now, $1 grand really isn't that much to you. Payday comes in as I return home to get the massive graphic off my screen. Our passive weekly income is now 72 grand or 1.3 million in today's money. Seriously, I should just retire now. I actually slightly lied that there aren't any hit lists. There is one, but you need to go inside the Corleone compound and the main mission activation circle blocks the way, so it's main mission time now. Sonny wants to hit a bank, but he's interrupted by a phone call. Note Saltesio's significant look, like he knows something we don't. Curious, and again a testament to the animation quality. Rather abruptly, we're dropped into gameplay and for some reason, Sonny speeds off in a car. I talk to both people outside with the interaction icons and fail the mission because Sonny got too far away. Right. Making haste this time, Sonny speeds away. It's possible the higher frame rate is causing Sonny to be faster than normal, but for story reasons he does actually need to get pretty far ahead. We give chase until a cutscene starts. Sonny is stopped at a toll booth, but something isn't right. Suspicious Sonny looks around and starts to see what's happening. But now trapped, Sonny is pumped with a sarcastic amount of bullets by men with different family colours. Arriving too late, shocked Pikachu face, we give chase to the toll booth operator. The high-octane drive sees us racing down the highway, using railing and other traffic to fend off our pursuers. Our friends, the Blue Arrows, are back. I suspect these are QA tester notes in action. It would be very unclear which road to take without them, and their vehicle gets too far ahead for me to see where they actually turn off. Arriving at the warehouse, the walking arsenal that we are makes pretty easy work of them. I don't think I've mentioned so far, while you can't jump, you can vault over walls using the interact button. I make use of it here, shooting out the window then jumping through to get in here with a bit more cover. Ahead we interrogate the toll booth operator. He says he doesn't know who set up the hit, but we know they would have just left this stooge behind if he didn't know something. He caves and tells us they're on their way to the club on West Side. A courtesy vehicle outside is kindly left and we grab it for a timed drive. No more blue arrows, so map consulting needs to be done. The club is once again actually controlled by us, but I suppose in the end I'd rather have this be inconsistent than have the game lock off these businesses until this mission is done. Perish the thought of actually adding in custom buildings for the main story missions. A great use of interrogation mechanics is utilised below. The underboss has a very high threshold, but you can intimidate this lady here.
Tell him what he wants to know.
This pushes the underboss to the limit and you can find out more info from him. They supply the guns, his family is too weak to be pulling the strings though. The man we're after is the Wolf, Don Barzini, the green guys. We race back to the Corleone compound for another unnecessarily timed drive. The game does occasionally use audio from the movie, by the way. You can really tell the quality difference here with Don Corleone speaking to Tom.
My wife is crying upstairs. I hear cars coming to the house. Consigliere of mine, I think you should tell your Don what everyone seems to know.
The Don doesn't want revenge, he wants the war to stop and calls a meeting. The meeting happens and to really contrast the audio quality, here is the Don speaking again.
My youngest son was forced to leave this country because of his Salazzo business.
The Don wants his son Michael to be able to return home and for the war to end. The families appear to agree, but we mean mug this man. Remember him? No, me neither. It's actually the Wolf, the man we saw gun down our father like 30 plus hours ago. I will say it's hard to take this shot seriously as A, our face is horrendous, and B, I've seen this trope used for comical effects so many times it's hard to take seriously. Back at the Corleone compound for a next mission, I'm able to grab the hit list, but I decide to undertake the next mission anyway. You can talk to the Don first. He informs us that he's stepping down as the Don and his son Michael is taking over. We are apparently his most trusted friend and will be his right-hand man. I have literally met this dude about 2 times, but sure, we're best buds. The default talk animations also don't quite fit Don Corleone, I will say. It's a bit too animated for his otherwise rather slow and methodical movements. Don Michael Corleone now greets us in the study, making us his right-hand man, his capo regime, or capo for short. But we have to keep it a secret for some reason. Tom is no longer the consigliere of the family for some reason, and Clemenza is being given his own family for some reason. Times are changing and Michael has big plans to become unchallengeable. We get a big payout and our weekly family cut is lowered once again. Michael wants us to meet with Monk as the FBI are setting up in Little Italy and he wants to know why. This guy here appears but tells us to come see him later. He's actually a hit list contract guy, but I guess he's in the wrong spot at the moment. I do appreciate the fact that you can start missions and provided it's not a timed drive or a cutscene, you can just go off and do other things. I get back to the hit list as I'm unsure if they'll all be around later. Mario is our next target. He gets the joy of being run over by us, the lucky fella. Jaggy, someone we've apparently met before, is now dirty and holding up at Rosa's. We need to take him out but make sure no escorts get hurt in the process. Again, a great use of the aiming mechanic, requiring us to use a precision weapon to carefully hit Jaggy and not Rosa. Rosa is actually conflicted about what you just did. You saved her before, but she didn't really think Jaggy would truly hurt her. You plead your case that he was dirty, but Rosa is still a little bit on the fence. A good bit of character work for you and Rosa. It's a shame we basically don't ever see her again. Ronnie is next and requires a single shot to the head for the bonus. A little awkward shooting sees it done. Jack, we're told to simply walk up to him and give him the old strangling hands for the bonus. Salvatore Stracci is Don Stracci's son. Another unique hit requires us to take down Salvatore before he blows up the warehouse that he's at. You run and gun through enemies as they try to take you down while he flees. His goons block the way throughout the warehouse. Finally getting a proper angle, you can take him down. It's a nice use of scripted sequences that don't rely on a generic timer clock. Big Bobby Toro is with the police and he needs to be silenced. The bonus requires no cop casualties, so I kind of just sprint in, shoot and run. Job done, I suppose. Just before grabbing my next contract, I notice this glowing arrow. Getting close, our 2 friends run ahead, telling us to cover them. Following, they promptly fall, leaving Muggins here to do all the work. Another icon floats above the back of a truck. We collect over $2 grand from this pile. Job done, I guess. This is a completely unmentioned mechanic that I've only seen used here for the moment. It feels like the leftovers, even the gold icon is different to any other icon we've seen in-game. Very strange, I will say. But moving on, Pietro is making a deal with the cops. Our bonus payout is given out if we shoot him while he's shaking hands with the police chief. Another fun use of timing. Like the little murder gremlin you are, you need to sneak up and line up for a shot. This probably would have been better if we had, say, a sniper rifle and were shooting from a different angle far away. But alas, you get what you get. My payday interrupts the hit, now up to 92 grand by the way, but we managed to make the hit. Our gold glowing icon boys are back from earlier. This time I ensure they survive and get a nice 6 grand stack of cash, so a repeatable random encounter, I guess. Domenico is another interesting hit. You get the bonus if you bribe one of his bodyguards to aid you. Though spending 10 grand on the bribe to get a 50 grand bonus is rather silly as there's no reason not to do it. I do accidentally end up shooting the bodyguard I paid after the hit. Sorry, my fallen temporary brother-in-arms. All this ruckus I've caused has actually started another gang war, so I guess I'll go take the Barzini compound and take control. Another tough slog through waves of enemies, and I do confirm my suspicions that the enemies spawn outside the first house when you enter the basement. I did confirm it before, but I wanted to triple check. With both buildings up in flames, we get a huge chunk of respect and take control of Midtown. The cops are pretty unhappy with us to say the least, so why not rob a bank to really make them cross? The cops are quite GTA coded with them on your tail, ramming and raging behind you. I get a third chicken with our boys at the fountain, but they're not there this time. The crate and the bad guys are still further down, but it's not really worth the hassle, honestly. Emilio is the son of the Barzini's Don and our next target. Another cool condition requires you to take down all his bodyguards at the funeral before dropping Emilio himself. Victorious, I shoot him and oh, I didn't get it. I furiously search around to find this jerk floating inside the church, costing me my bonus. Each provider of hit lists had several contracts, increasing in difficulty and payout, ending with the son of a don of one of the other families. So the payouts do vary, and I just missed out on the biggest bonus you can get from this line. But checking my rap sheet, and yes, that's all the hit lists done. I do shudder, however, as I see the collectibles are listed for the 100% completion. This includes all the safes, every safe house, every execution, and film reel. But I think the film reels don't actually count because they say bonus. And yes, there are world collectibles in the form of these film reels. You get 1 grand respect for each one you find, and there's 100 to find throughout the world. Like with main missions, the film reels will eventually unlock clips from the movie, which you can view from the main menu, though I can't show them here, of course. With the pressing weight on my shoulders of spending hours upon hours of collecting collectibles now in my future, I finally decide it's time to finish the main storyline. But first, a fashion change. This is my serious endgame outfit. It's a shame the Corleone's family colour is black. While it's sleek and cool, it would have been fun to represent the family with a bold colour like CJ can do in GTA San Andreas with Grove Street Green. We head over to finally meet Monk in Little Italy. The title card tells us it is now 1955. These title cards give a little bit of information before the starting of every main mission. I've mostly found them unhelpful or indecipherable because I don't know who they're talking about. So it has now been canonically 10 years in-game since we started, though you wouldn't know it from looking around. The world has not changed in any way, shape or form to indicate those 10 years have passed. Monk is even still wearing the same outfit from 10 years ago. Monk insists that we need to get inside right now. There's a rat inside and we have to take them down. There's no time to lose. We're surprised, but follow along. Wreaking some havoc inside, I'm enjoying the larger 75-round capacity of my Dillinger. I do get a little overconfident in my Dillingering and actually get iced. I also forgot that if you get hit when slowly healing from a health bottle, it cancels the rest of the heal. So it's usually wise to hunker down and let it happen. Retrying, we make it to the top. Monk takes out the snitch as we watch on rather confused. Someone called Jimmy makes an appearance behind us. Monk is aggressive, clearly covering something up. Jimmy wants to know who pulled the trigger. Flustered, Monk storms out. We see the corkboard. Don Vito Corleone is marked as deceased, which is absolutely news to me. To undercut the seriousness, and very funnily however, I believe this photo is supposed to be us, but it didn't load our glorious mug properly. That, or there's a dastardly button-up shirt that's under investigation. We talk to Michael on the phone. Monk is dirty. Shock and horror. He just shot the agent that was running him to cover his tracks. We were both being set up to find out which one was actually the rat. Now Michael knows it's not us. We have the task of taking down Monk for the family. A timed drive sends us across Little Italy. We magically know Monk is over here, by the way. I'm also still giggling a little bit in the drive over our portrait on that corkboard. Confronting Monk, we get a pretty good scene.
Monk, what happened to you? What happened to you?
What do I owe the family? Huh? I mean, I was never gonna be on the inside. I was never gonna be made, not like you. And for what? Because of who my father is? Let me tell you something. When you killed Frankie, when they killed Frankie, I just didn't care anymore.
But you turned your back on the family.
It's nice to hear some emotion, the hurt in our voice, Monk's pain, the slip of words telling us he thinks we essentially killed Frankie. That was his turning point. For clarity, in the mob, only a male of full Sicilian descent can become a made man. Monk's father was Irish, so he could never become like one of us. Like Monk's friend from a long time ago, Paulie, we now have to take him down. He's also made friends with the red guys, the Cuneo family. Monk takes a pounding of bullets, but falls, disappearing into the ether before our very eyes. So long, Monk. Back on the street, I never really bothered to do so, but you can actually talk to every pedestrian. There's an impressive amount of variety, and they all have some voice lines as well, appropriate to their appearance, like this homeless-looking fella, for instance. It's a nice touch for sure, but I probably would have preferred if NPCs were a bit more interactive with the world and a bit more randomized than having all these voice lines and talking to them. But enough distractions. There's a new main mission, and weirdly a side mission icon has appeared, so I go to check it out, as I've already done all the hit lists. We get there and get another hit list mission, but screens say me already done 100%. Me confused. Me head out now, I guess. So despite doing 100%, we now need to take out Lucinio. He needs to be taunted before getting whacked. I assume it means I need to talk to him before making the hit because there is no taunt mechanic, as it were. I decided to check out the level 3 shotgun in New Jersey first. Totally not because I took a wrong turn. Damn you, lack of GPS. It's 450 grand, so no thanks. Fortunately, nearby is the level 2 shotgun. So I buy it for a modest 45 grand, 800 grand in today's coin, and head to Hell's Kitchen. I did take a little bit of time to sit back and listen to the background ambience in Hell's Kitchen. It's a good, busy backdrop. It's a shame the honking cars and go-go traffic isn't really reflected by the actual cars on the road. We're fired upon immediately by Lucinio's men. I forget how to play the video game properly trying out the new double barrel and get iced. Trying again, I get iced again. The third time around, I try to clear out the bad guys first. I do like how pedestrians reactively flee to your actions. However, it's ruined by new ones spawning in and not mimicking that behavior until triggered by gunfire again, say. I take out the goons and shoot our target in the leg, making him drop to his knees. This allows me to run up and taunt him, then take him out. This is a fantastic culmination of utilizing in-game mechanics I've been taught to accomplish my goal. That's some good gaming right there. Our completion percentage is identical for the hit list, so I guess it's just a little wrong or something. I was stopped on the road doing something, probably petting my cat, and noticed there can actually be quite a few NPCs on screen. They seem to have really sacrificed liveliness and view distance for quantity. Something I wish they kind of done the reverse of, honestly. Getting a little sidetracked, I went out to get some more locations, giving the old new double barrel a try. It's more powerful and has better range. My shooting skill is higher, making the reticle shrink notably faster too. I do actually quite like the mechanic and your ability to prioritize this or not with perk point choices. I finally decided to investigate the church symbols on the map. They're mostly empty, but I did find someone outside in the graveyard in this one, crouching by a tombstone, which is a nice little touch. It seems to be mostly a place to stick weapon vendors and such. I found my first FBI G-man, and you can bribe them to lower the vendetta of all the families for 3 grand. I do wish I had investigated this earlier. I checked out another church, but this one was completely empty. Heading back to the compound, I grab another hit list that's appeared, but go for the main story mission. Weirdly, not in a cutscene, we find out Sal Tessio is also a traitor, working to set up Michael for a hit.
Tell Mike it was only business. I always liked him. He understands that.
Tom asks us to go to the meeting. Tessio is driven away to the meeting ahead of us as well. The title card again informs us that Vito Corleone is deceased. No cutscene, no final words, just confirming he's gone and that's it. It would have been nice to have some form of farewell scene or something, but never mind. It's very unceremonious for such an iconic character. We meet up with Willie at Tessio's bar, and for some reason we decide to walk straight into the trap. Tessio runs for it, begging us to talk it out as we mow down his Barzini compatriots. With his goons gone, he again asks us to talk it out. I try that, but nothing really happens. He asks us to walk away, so I try that too. The mission fails. Okay, so I guess there's only one option. More goons fall, and then I finally do as I'm supposed to and take out Sal Tessio. I was wondering if with Sal gone, could you still get those contracts? I did look this up, by the way. Willie ends up taking over the contracts, so you can't miss out on them. I assumed the over 100% was to compensate for the fact that you might miss out on Tessio's jobs, but that doesn't seem to be the case, so your guess is as good as mine. Tom asks us to meet Michael for the baptism. Whose baptism? Who knows? But first, we can deal with the final hit list contract. Marco, the son of Don Cuneo, is the last target. We need to make it look like an accident using a ditch or rail yard. Again, the game lets you control actions while still in cutscenes. I entertain myself with some head bashing. However, I forget how low my health is and actually get iced. Second time around, I get some rapid punches in and weaken him. Another good mechanic being the weaker someone is, the less resistant they are to being muscled around. A rather awkwardly long bit of grappling later, and I finally get him to the overhang to toss him below, finishing the final hit list contract. Now we get to go watch a baptism, or get baptized, I don't know. Michael meets us outside. A lot is said, but I don't really know what's going on until I get my first objective, taking down Don Stracci, hit number 1. The game took my fast vehicle away from me, so I had to quickly go and get one from down the road. We go to meet Clemenza. Don Stracci is expecting us for a peace talk meeting. We drive over to the hotel. Clemenza makes his way lackadaisically in as the clock ticks. He covers downstairs while we go upstairs to make the hit. Thinking I'll be sneaky, I try to choke out the door guard, but it actually fails the mission. Losing 5 minutes on the clock, we race back up, talking our way through instead. We are supposed to meet them after all. The last guy says to us,
I hope you're unarmed, as we asked.
Taking advantage of this apparently sweet man's innocence, we walk in burgeoning with weaponry. Using Old Faithful, we mow down our first target. Clemenza sends us to meet Willie for hit number 2. A cutscene shows it's actually Michael being baptized, renouncing his sinfulness. The irony. Our timer is refreshed and we head out to take out Don Cuneo. Meeting Willie, we drive to the next hit. Willie goes downstairs into the building while we wait outside. When the Don walks out, Willie locks the door and we start blasting. We take down Don Cuneo in a hail of fire. His goons outside and inside fall pretty quickly too. Willie sends us to meet Rocco in Brooklyn for hit number 3 on Don Tattaglia. Another cutscene of Michael and oh, there's a baby there too, right. The baby's getting baptized, I get it now. The juxtaposition of a storm of bullets and death intercut with a calm religious ceremony of holiness is great. I suspect it's from the movie, but it's still nicely done. This escape is rough. 2 cars harass you as you flee. I get cornered and actually get iced. Checkpointed graciously, I try my best to flee the hounds at our heels. I try to get out and take them out, but they actually respawn. Their previous smoking vehicles disappear, but fortunately the new guys have the same damage. A bit weird, but better than fresh attackers. Vehicles part for you on the road when a chase like this is happening. I managed to get them both destroyed but need a fresh vehicle. Just down the road, however, fresh bad guys do actually spawn, heckling you with gunfire and ramming, making for a very harrowing drive. They peel off and disappear once you make it to the Brooklyn Bridge. Meeting Rocco, he informs us Don Tattaglia is with an escort at the moment, but he doesn't know exactly where. A hotel is nearby, and I've taken enough backroom rackets over to know that they can often be found upstairs in hotels. My hunch was right, and we head upstairs to do some more shooting. The Don has taken a girl hostage, but I managed to save her. You're welcome, lingerie lady. Unfortunately, this Corleone goon that was following me before is now blocking the door, refusing to move. I can't even shoot him to get him out of the way. Dynamite is the only option. Sorry, lingerie lady. Don Barzini is the 4th hit and Rocco sends us to Al Neri in Little Italy. A quick cutscene with Michael being blessed and we are again harassed on the road as we drive. They do follow you onto the bridge this time. You can actually use right alt to look behind you, and I discover left alt actually changes the view distance, close, medium or far. I stuck with the default medium. I do get into some trouble on the bridge. Hijacking another car, the driver doesn't actually appear when I hijack it. No doubt they couldn't spawn out properly, but I prefer to believe it was a ghost car. The end of the bridge also sees the end of the goons, and we go to meet Al Neri. Al's acquired a cop car and clothes. He plans on taking down Don Barzini with our help. Hiding and waiting, I accidentally spoil the plan by getting out a weapon. So many goons spawn, it's ridiculous, and I'm promptly dropped. Making some notes, I alt-tabbed out here, and the game crashed. So doing everything I just did again, I get back to this hit and try again. Not ruining the plan this time, the bad guy count is much less. The Don flees, but we get to him quickly.
I knew it. I knew it would be you.
Finally, we get our revenge and take down Don Barzini, the person that mowed down our father all those years ago, if you can actually remember all of that. The cycle of violence continues. Now we just need to outrun the cops for 3 minutes. They aren't as aggressive as the mafia chasers. A bit of dodging and high speed see you driving around for a little bit. When the cops get bored of chasing you, you get 3 minutes to get back to the church. Thankfully, I wasn't too far away. A wrong turn on the highway saw me waste a bit of time, but with a minute to spare, we make it back for the end of the service. We silently inform Michael and he continues to make that lidded eye look he's had since becoming the Don. Such gravitas, such emotion. With that lengthy and destructive mission over, a MAME lets us know we're wanted back at the compound. Putting on our Sunday best, we arrive to another meeting. Words aren't really spoken, but we all meet, kissing hands and shaking and hugging. With that, we are made the underboss with a juicy payout. Clemenza kindly reminds us outside about taking on compounds. The last two are now highlighted for us on the map. First though, I want to take control of everything. Little Italy is first on the list. After some gunfire and a few more businesses taken over, Little Italy is now fully under my control. See, I even have the full map to prove it. Brooklyn is next, only 2 spots here, I got most of them previously. The Tattaglia compound is rushed by yours truly, and with a minute to spare on the mob war with them, I destroy the first compound. The second soon falls, and Brooklyn is now technically under our control. The last warehouse in Brooklyn was tough. They love spawning enemies behind you. It genuinely took me 4 tries to get this, but now we completely own Brooklyn. Before leaving, I do go over and grab the level 3 pistol. I actually do find another one of those random spots where you can get a stack of cash. The assassin pistol only costs 250 grand, so I grab it. It's very accurate and probably the closest you can get to a long-range rifle, but you know, it's in pistol form. I do discover later it's actually fully automatic, which is an insane way to piss away all your bullets. New Jersey is already done. I cleaned it up earlier so I didn't have to constantly make that drive there and back again. So next up is Midtown. Some safe houses need buying first. Lengthier work is also required here in the form of the businesses, as a lot of them need taking over. Like the Tommy gun, the fire rate for the level 3 pistol is faster when crouching, which is still baffling. I can only assume it's a coding glitch. Midtown is completely taken over, with the final transport hub falling to me, which is different to the warehouses, I swear. We take control of Midtown and also eliminate the Barzini family completely, though I am still in a mob war with them somehow. Midtown also saw the last of the safe houses, so now our progress page is looking great. Hell's Kitchen is the last place for total domination. I cleaned up my remaining executions as well. They're considered collectibles, and I'm not actually sure if any enemies exist once you take over everything. I also splurged for the Python, the level 3 Magnum. It takes 2 extra rounds and is a bit more powerful. The last Stracci business is down, eliminating them as well. The final businesses of the Tattaglias is also gobbled up into our empire. I simply walk in and buy out the final place, eliminating the Tattaglias and a juicy bonus for taking over all businesses. The Cuneos are left for last. One final transport hub falls to my bullet shooting ways, and now another big payout for owning all rackets and taking over the hub. Finally ending in one last copy and paste compound. The first explosion puts an end to the final mob war I had going. The second one ends it all. Bonus payouts are given for the compound destruction and taking over control of Hell's Kitchen. Destroying all compounds, I get mad respect for that. The Cuneo family has now been eliminated, and as the compounds are safe houses, owning all safe houses is now complete. Surprisingly though, we have one final mission. To head over to the Corleone compound for an important meeting. Drifting in and parking like a jerk, we get a cutscene. A hand is kissed and we turn to reveal we are in the Don's chair. Glitching a little bit, but that's fine because now we are the Don of the Corleone family. Michael is gone, I guess. But oh, no, wait, I have another mission. Right, fine then. To the one last mission we go. We arrive at a hotel for one final cutscene, again. At a meeting of the magically appearing information men, our hand is kissed once again. We take a seat at the head of the table, for now we are the Don, not just of the Corleone family, but of the entire New York City. One last huge payout is given, and we now carry infinite ammo. We also reach the max level of 50. The entire map is now ours, every business, racket, compound, and safe house. We have no more objectives or hit list jobs. We now get to sit back and rule as the Don of New York City. I enjoy my infinite ammo for a moment. With 1.8 million of $1955 in my pocket, today's equivalent of 22 million, we drive off into the night. Our work is complete. So, what do I think of The Godfather, the video game? There's a lot of time to be spent in the game, but it has its problems. There's no car stealing missions, a real lack of car variety and side missions in general. The animations and weapons in general feel a bit rushed. Like they planned for variants but never got around to being able to model them. I am aware I've compared this a lot to GTA San Andreas, and from memory San Andreas wasn't that much better in that regard. They definitely had more weapons, but the animations were still pretty ropey. Lacking in a long-range weapon, I found myself using the Tommy gun, then the pistol as backup for most of the game. The sound effects are solid though, and there's enough choices for different players. The game seems to heavily rely on the nostalgia for the movies to make up for its lack of substance. The main story feels messy, jumping forward in time without any real indication. Important things happen off screen and you're just occasionally told it. It's also missing those little things, going out for drinks with colleagues and mayhaps getting into a small bar fight that bonds us as friends. Taking our best girl out for a milkshake and going and seeing the sights. Helping out a friend with a small personal problem that isn't linked to the wider world's problems. You don't feel like you have any real friends, no connection to the world, no mission to even go see your mum. Remember her? Well, she was at the beginning and everything. Seriously, main character, through the entire game, never saw their mum once. What a terrible son. You feel like an afterthought in this world, and Frankie is forced upon you unceremoniously. The story is good. It's from an award-winning blockbuster, so it damn should be. Tales of revenge, countless loss and betrayal all make for good storytelling. And what story is actually shown to you is told well. A lot of the characters are voiced and acted well. It's just sad to see so little of them. I feel like the lingerie dancing women were probably the remnants of an abandoned charisma minigame too. Perhaps they overcorrected getting too scared after the hidden GTA romance minigame stuff was found. The boxing twins you can find for the fighting mechanics also seems like leftovers for abandoned content. It feels like this game was initially a big game planned with proper side quests, minigames, bigger main storyline and more, but most of it had to be dropped to slap the Godfather over it. I could be wrong in that regard, but that's what it feels like. Most of the budget seemed to go to getting the Godfather stuff. This game is something you definitely play while you half watch something else on another monitor, or listen to a podcast, like the Green Vault podcast made by yours truly that delves into locations from throughout the Fallout games every episode. Link in the description. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the landscape. The tall buildings, both up close and far away, give the illusion of a big city. There are plenty of pedestrians and cars everywhere. That illusion, however, is ruined by the very noticeable pop-in by both the cars and the people. The people themselves all walk in a line. Observing them, they all act like robots. There's no variety, no randomness. The same goes for the cars on the roads. The city has some good variety to it, and you can navigate it not too badly with the map and the large signs around the world. The AI for the enemies is actually quite good. They can catch you out and do a decent job in general, especially for 2006. They are a little bullet spongy for my taste, though that seems to be partly for the mafia movie vibe, excessive amount of bullets and all that. I did have a problem with the mouse sensitivity. The manual aim sensitivity and control camera sensitivity are out of sync. In order for manual aim to be viable, as I used it all the time, I had to set the sensitivity to about 1/5, but that means the camera control is very slow. That also affected the grab controls, which is why I had such a job and a half of moving people around, making the system feel very unresponsive. This is probably a problem due to modern mice and systems. Not having a shoulder swap button was also pretty annoying for camera controls in gunfights. The world itself wasn't too bad with some variety. Little Italy is a brown and red bricked poorer section, but adds some character with the train tracks running above. Brooklyn is lighter with some more varied colours in buildings. It feels more affluent and the higher class of vehicles and pedestrians reflect that. New Jersey is Americana suburbia, shorter buildings and classic housing. Midtown is a wealthier feeling district with a bit more character and tall skyscrapers. Hell's Kitchen does feel a little bit of a copy and paste of Little Italy, however. There's not much to write home about there. There's some unique architecture here and there for you as well to find, but it's all just in the background and rarely used. It all ends up merging a little as you drive monotonously back and forth between each mission. The missions don't really utilise them as much as you'd like. There are glitchy textures. I imagine this is due to how modern hardware now deals with overlapping textures and overlays. The driving time is honestly a decent chunk of this game. The connecting roads to some of the sections are pretty tedious. There's also a lack of connection to the world and your actions. Cops don't really care if you ram vehicles. They don't care if you steal parked vehicles, even from outside a police station with an officer literally watching you. The pedestrians do respond to your actions, which is nice, be it gunfire or diving out of the way of your vehicle, but their programming immediately resets, making it feel very robotic. They are impressively varied for the time, each with voice lines. Richer looking folk in the wealthier areas, working class in the lower income areas too. The music in-game is either rather generic or great Hollywood level classics from the movies, but on constant repeat. It all fits the vibe well, I just wish there was more and a radio when driving. I didn't point this out on purpose at the start, but when you run, there is this horrible juttering. It's a once you notice it you can't unnotice it thing. I know it's meant to give a sense of action when running, but it's actually just annoying. The control scheme, while innovative in design, was lacking in execution, especially on mouse and keyboard, but I imagine a controller would actually have a much better time of it. And speaking of controllers, there were actually a few additions for this game, all on consoles. Better versions came out down the road, ending in the PlayStation 3 release of the Don's Edition. It has many more missions, much better graphics, I have looked at footage and yes, it is much better. More cars, a cleaner, nicer UI, and you can apparently teleport via safehouse phones, which means, less running around. I'm genuinely really annoyed this never came out on PC. The PC version, the version I played back in 2006, is at least downloadable as abandonware, with fan-made patches to keep it up and running. I can imagine physical copies of the console versions are really hard to find now, and you can't buy this game anywhere, it's out of license and abandoned. There's probably no way this game will ever get a remake or remaster. The rights would simply cost too much if they can even be bought in the first place. And honestly, I'd prefer a studio to take this game and remake it, just without the Godfather parts. A spiritual remake, you might say, would be so much better, losing the constraints of the movie, allowing for much more time and money to be spent on actually making a more varied game would be fantastic. They obviously did do that somewhat for the console with the DLC, but still. I'd love an open world, take control type game in this period once again. In the end though, did I answer my question? Is it still fun? Honestly, I still did have fun despite all my gripes. I didn't find myself dreading having to launch the game again to play some more. It's a long game, I spent over 45 hours in it. I very much have a nostalgia of running around New York City, taking control and becoming the Don of New York City. And I definitely think that nostalgia is doing some heavy lifting here. The story is rather short in the end. The world could have used more variety and more side missions to bond with the NPCs. I still can't believe there isn't a car stealing minigame to make money. That's the bread and butter of any easy to make side job in a world with cars. The world's economy is wacky, but that's more funny than anything, and you can make money well enough throughout gameplay. The game shined with the variety of hit list jobs, using its own mechanics and weapons to full effect. It's a shame they didn't utilize the existing in-game mechanics more often. The leveling up is fine, nothing to rave about, and I do actually prefer it to GTA's passive skill increase. I like having the choice. The driving is still fun and arcadey, again just a lack of vehicle variety. Something once again they fixed in the console editions it seems like. Their sound effects are pretty good. The NPCs are all well acted and animated, barring the occasional glitchiness to it, but they are a little old now. I think catering to small screens with big facial expressions may have actually been a factor. We probably should have just been a silent protagonist with how little characterization and moments we get. There are some, but just nowhere near enough. Though in a weird spot, there is a decent amount of clothing and colour options given the era we're in, as in being a game from 2006 and also being set in the more restricted mob scene of 1945. The same goes for the character creator. It allowed me to create this monster after all. But for all that, there's fun to be had if you turn off your brain and have a bit of nostalgia to go along with it. Perhaps watch some videos while you play. Like me, you might find yourself enjoying it despite all its faults. The game garnered mixed reviews but sold very well, being a top rental by a large margin at Blockbuster and went to number 1 in the UK charts and stayed in the top 10 for 8 weeks. It even managed to get a sequel, The Godfather 2, which I may cover if people want it and provided I can still run it, of course. Let me know in the comments if you have memories of playing The Godfather the video game. I'd love to hear from you and enjoy hearing people's stories. I'd especially love to hear from those that had the privilege of playing the better console editions and what they thought. But that is it for now from me in this video game. So thank you very much for watching and please do like and subscribe as well. This channel can only survive if people interact as well as watch. A lot of work goes into a full review of a game this size, so every little bit helps. But yes, thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Now get out there and grind those businesses for the family.